Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to another great edition of Spaced Out Radio tonight, our final edition before we head to Las Vegas for SOR meetings with Merle. Yeah, we're going to have a great time tonight. Dr. Christopher Macklin is here. We're going to get into everything from UFOs, aliens, ET contact, and so much more. We're also going to have Dirty Filth here for another crazy cartoon, and it's going to be a great time indeed. But before we do all of that, we have to make sure we say hello to each and every one of you, including Eternity Eternal in the gold medal position, Kitty Cattywhack with a silver, and looks like Race Fan with a bronze medal tonight. Robert Lamoth, how you doing? And Mel WD40 is here, lubing us up for tonight's show, because you can't talk aliens without sliding in nice and smooth, and that's what Mel does. He lubes us up to prepare us for the show. All right, Scabby, how you doing? Thanks for coming on in. As we continue on with our roll call, T-Bone, my man, how you doing? Necessary Dialogue, good to see you. Mr. Cowley is here. Mr. Cowley will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Ethanol, Amanda, how you two doing? Lisa Smith, thanks for coming on in. As we continue on with our roll call, Keith McCormick is here. Keith McCormick will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Moving on, let's continue on with our roll call. There's Jeremy Jones, Operation Shutdown, Creepypasta, number 16 in your program, starting at left wing from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. Thomas Rock, how you doing? Good to see you. JMJ12, thanks for coming on in. Kurt M., good to see you, my friend. Acreong, Nina Williams, Dave Tiger Williams, good to have you all here. Thank you. Al Garay over on Twitch just did 147 chin-ups in under 3 minutes to warm up for tonight's show. He's jacked for tonight. Millennium, my man, good to see you. Hi there, Bill Sardellis. Thanks for coming on in. Bob Thorson and Flubber Lane, good to have you both here. Brian D., how you doing, my friend? Good to have you back. Lotus Spider, thank you for joining us. Fast Hemi, good to see you. Over on X, we got I'm Hardcore, ready for another great edition of the mighty SOR. Emperor Penguin, how you been doing? Amy, Vegas, I can't wait to see you, my friend. Cannot wait to see you. I'm excited. Joey Burrow over on Twitch, nice to have you here. Thank you for coming on in. We continue on with roll call. Mark Sanchez in his collection of Hawaiian shirts. How you doing, my friend? Pam Harris, good to see you. As we continue on with our roll call. CS, thank you for joining us. SR Web Creators, how you doing? Welcome to SOR Chat. Pam Harris, again, I just wanted to say your name twice. I did. AJ, thank you for joining us. Josephus, Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Hello there, Michelle Wilfong. How are you tonight? Hope you have a great night. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us in. We greatly appreciate earning your listening ears. Tonight, we talked to Dr. Christopher Macklin. We're going to get into everything from ETs, UFOs, consciousness, Galactic Federation, and so much more. It's going to be a very entertaining show indeed. We are in roll call right now on our YouTube side, so stick around. Be patient. We're going to launch here very, very soon. Digger Dog, how you doing? Mike Bothwell, thanks for coming on in. K-Van, how you doing, my friend? And who's next on our list? Ross Lambda, thank you for joining us. Hi there, David Norenberg. Hope you had a good evening. And we are 30 seconds away from launch. Why is that important? Because it allows me to tell you, if you're on the YouTube side, the super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out and get yourself some today. It's that time of the night where I ask each and every one of you to throw those horns up. Let's rock.
Little brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators in your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies at one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass. And act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. Not you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere. Little brother wants to make his life be
Global Enlightenment. Dr. Christopher Macklin is going to be with us momentarily. Then in hour number 3, we have Swamp Dweller. Follow that up. Josh Rutledge is filling in for Tim James, who is on the DL until Tuesday or Wednesday next week. Why? Well, he's getting his CPAP set up, number 1. But number 2, we're going to be in Vegas for our SOR event. So that's pretty much it. That's your lineup for tonight. I hope you're satisfied because I am. This is going to be a great show. Let's meet our guest tonight. Born as a highly aware psychic child in Chester, England, Christopher Macklin was able to perceive energy fields, spiritual activity, and multidimensional phenomena from a very young age. To meditate for hours a day for 4 years in order to integrate his highest path and to understand the divine healing that he has been called to share with this world, understanding of how these toxins break down in the body's immune system and leads to catastrophic consequences. Christopher's exemplary research findings are culled from scientific evidence, intuitive information, and divine connection, which makes him highly respected speaker, lecturer, and medical consultant worldwide. Today, Christopher is an internationally known energy healer who specializes in healing people from all forms of illnesses, emotional and physical, especially those created through ET technologies such as Morgellons, Lyme disease, and has developed his own protocol for removing them from the body. Well, let's find out a little bit more as Dr. Christopher Macklin comes on in to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you, sir? Have you on?
Dave, thanks for having me on. It's wonderful to be here. Bless your heart.
It is great to have you here. You have been dealing with the spiritual path since childhood. What's your earliest recollection of spiritual contact?
Well, it was when I was about 4. I mean, it's interesting because when I was born, you become a targeted individual if they know what you're going to do in this life. And so when I was born, 2 days after I had 8 strokes, in hospital for a year. And then when I was about 4, I burnt my back really badly in hospital for a year, and it just went on. But what was interesting is when I came back from hospital when I was 4, I remember the first encounter was really, I was in my bedroom, the age of 4, for heaven's sake. You got this great big, thing in the corner, reptilian thing, it was Anunnaki, I realized, but I said, Dad, there's a reptilian in the corner, and he comes running up. Where? It's there, and I could still see it, but I could tell it was there because you get this like dark feeling in your chest, like, whoa, this is not good. And you go, oh no, it's just a bad dream. Go back to sleep, and it's there. So when he'd gone, I decided from somewhere I got this power, and I just commanded, get out of my bedroom. It went. I thought, oh, that worked, and from there on, I've had encounters and I've managed to actually clear them, which is good. But even the age of 4, wow, the age of 4, people don't know what to say, but, it just came from nowhere. Get out of my room. And you command it to leave, and it left. So, and I've had a number of encounters, going forward, I've been at school and I see craft in the sky because I can see through the veil. And is that a good thing or bad thing? And the answer is, it depends which way you look at it, I can actually shut it off now, which is quite good because I can start to see through the veil. The other night, we were sitting out the front porch, and it's funny, I was just sitting there and I thought, let's see who's here, and I started looking through the veil. There was literally on our front lawn a horse with a cowboy, and he was just, patting the horse and doing things. And I said, wow, and I asked Mandy, my wife, could she see it? She can hear things, but she can't see it. She said, I can hear it, but I can't see it. And anyway, I just watched him. He looked back, and then he just got on his horse, put his hat on, and just rode away. But luckily, you can shut it off, so it's a good thing,
The contact, excuse me, the contact that you had as a child, was it a spiritual contact? Was it an extraterrestrial contact? And how did it really ingrain inside of yourself?
Well, it ingrained because I'll never forget it. And I think the thing is about, it was an Anunnaki. It looks like a little bit like a velociraptor. It was about 10 foot 7 tall. They're very tall, of course. It's part of the Nephilim, thing. But I always remember it. And I think, but it's a spirit here. They're actually from the 4th dimension. So they're in a different dimension, but they're a spirit here. But they can shapeshift, of course. Some of these beings can shapeshift into human form, but they can never mask the eyes. So, of course, that's where you get the eyes, going lizard-like, and then they go back to normal human form. But what's interesting is that when they actually shapeshift, they can never keep exactly the same form. So if you have like a birthmark here or somewhere, it can actually move, yeah. But it really, I remembered that. And of course now, coming forward to now, we've created, I don't like the word prayers, I like the word maps of intent to remove things and do things. Yeah. But I'll never forget that encounter because it was terrifying. At the age of 4, you can see something, and I realized my father couldn't see it, and I thought I better kind of be quiet because otherwise they're going to send me to a psychiatrist. So it's crazy.
Was anybody else in your family intuitive like that, or was this just a first generation happening that you know of?
My mother had a bit of intuition. My grandmother did have intuition. And she said a couple of times, especially my brother once, she said, be careful on your bike today, and a car almost hit him. So she was quite intuitive. But my father, not so much, My father's always been angry and, berated us. And it's really interesting. I call him a crabby old shit. Should I call him a crabby old? I don't know. but that's what he is, Every time, I went through school, and of course, I've got severe dyslexia, and so I was terrible at spelling. I was always the last, and of course, they give you a spelling test on Friday at 3 or 4 o'clock, before you leave school. And anyone who doesn't spell it right has to stay there till they get it. And of course, I was always last leaving, but I was always brilliant at maths. But in England, unfortunately, at the time, I'm not British now; I'm American because I got American citizenship, but in England, English was the thing. Yeah, you have to be good at English. Oh well, don't know what to tell you. Yeah, it was interesting.
When you were growing up, and did the experiences intensify, or did they just kind of stay the same, or did they cool down at a point?
They were there. I didn't shut it off, but I realized that you can't talk to people about it. Like Dad's, I once, but Dad, there's a craft in the sky. And where? Okay, let's not bother with that either. But even going in restaurants now, I can, and even then, I could switch it on and see entities attached to people. And so I decided to kind of shut it down, and I managed to get sponsored for a degree. I did a degree, then got a master's, got PhDs, and so what, and did flight control systems. But I always remember being at these corporate places. You don't fit in, of course. I've never fitted in. As a person awake or a starseed, whatever you want to call it, you never fit in. And I used to shame myself. Why don't I gel with people? If people like talk behind your back, I used to take it so personally. I'd almost throw up, thinking, how can you do this? Because you're not a normal person per se, like the normal human beings. You're here as a starseed to do some work and do particular things. So, yeah, it's interesting.
The entities that you were surrounded with, what did they look like?
I've seen the Anunnaki. It's a bit like a velociraptor. They're very tall. They're very strong. I've seen Luciferians. They normally have red eyes. They're also reptilian. I've seen snake beings attached to people. I've seen archons. Archons are interesting because they have no body. They float through the second, third, or fourth dimension. They just attach you. So it's like having an energetic being attached to you. I mean, the other ones are the same, but of course they can shapeshift into the third dimension. What other ones? The Greys as well. Yeah, I had an encounter with the Greys, which is quite interesting, at a ranch. So yeah.
Did they ever tell you what they wanted from you?
No, I mean, they just want to scare you, and they want to try and manipulate you. That's their whole thing. The Greys, it's interesting. We dealt with the Greys. I went to a ranch, Stardust Ranch, actually, in America. The gentleman,
Yes.
John, he's passed away now, God bless him, but he was in trouble because he had a horse sanctuary. And what was happening is sometimes in the morning, one of the horses would be dismembered and half eaten, and he got really upset with it. He said, would you come for the weekend? I said, yeah, let's go and see if we can work it out. So I went for the weekend, and I spent the whole weekend trying to open this portal where he said it was. And what was interesting is I've got some, in quotes, watchers. They're there to actually make sure you don't do stupid things, And so I spent a whole day opening the portal, and eventually there's a sonic boom, and it opened, but it didn't open. You said it normally opens on the ground. It opens about 300 feet up, and there was things dropping out of it. It's really funny. And then these craft turned up, 3 of them, and I said, "What are you guys doing here?" We're making sure you don't do stupid things. Okay, and so then I actually shut the whole thing down. It took me about an hour or so. Shut the whole thing down. It never happened again. So I was really pleased, But interdimensional portals are real. I've had so many people who've had portals in their houses, for example, like in the bathroom or in the kitchen or even in the living room. And when a portal's open, these things, it sounds crazy, but these things don't wash. These entities don't wash. They smell like God off drains. When you open a portal, what's that terrible smell? And yeah, it's because there's a portal open. So I've done so much work closing portals for people and clearing their houses. It's untrue, So
My goodness. Did you always think they were extraterrestrial, or was there any idea whether it was paranormal or other supernatural happenings?
I think when I was younger, I didn't realize what these things were. And I think what's happened is over a period of time, I've researched, I've meditated it's interesting because, going through my life, I'll just go through a quick stories, if I may, because it will make you understand maybe. So, I'm in corporate world. I'm working on the Eurofighter project, the flight control system. I'm working on Airbus control, system control in aircraft, earning piles of money. And I was sitting there thinking, there's got to be more than this, The money doesn't matter, there's got to be something. I don't feel as though I'm doing what I'm meant to do. And then, of course, God decides, in 2007, do you know what? We're going to change your life. So suddenly I was actually, because I'm making some money, I was refurbing houses, selling them. I had this bright idea. Let's build 176 apartments. Now, that's a Trump project, not mine. So anyway, I bought the land, everything else, got it all set up. And then suddenly the bank phoned up and said, these apartments that are worth £200,000, they're now worth 90. You got 14 days to pay our money back. And I went, well, I've got £10. Will that help? So they took me bankrupt, marriage collapsed, living out of a car. It was an amazing transition. Taught me a lot of things, actually, that stuff doesn't matter. Who cares about stuff? To me, it's about people. But anyway, so in this transition, I was living out of a car. I tried to phone my brother. Oh, I'll phone you back. He's working for Shell Oil. And my father was really crabby anyway. And so I couldn't really go there. So I lived out of the car. And I remember one day I was actually in the south of England, and I just bawling my eyes out. And I thought, no one cares. And, probably one of the lowest points of my life. And then I was sponsored to go to Belize, to a place called San Ignacio, where there's a Mayan temple there. And I sat on that, and it really opened, it revibrated and really opened myself up. And what was interesting, I went back that night to the hotel, and I got visions of my past life, and it was like having it was like a hologram thing. I was just watching it, thinking, well, that's interesting. That's interesting. And from that day on, to be honest, Dave, who cares about who you were in a past life? It doesn't matter. It's what you do now to me that counts. But what it did is it showed me that I'm meant to be doing healing. So let's get on with healings. And so from that day on, I really focused on healing. I was doing meditation 6 hours a day. And one thing I did learn very quickly is that the gift you have, if you're a starseed person, your souls come from that starseed family. I was born as a Melchizedek being. I've got 84% Melchizedek DNA in me. So, and I'll tell you something that happened last year, which is really interesting. But, so I was born a Melchizedek being. So and they showed me, it's because that's this and that. This is the past lives, the last 4,000 years. Because most starseeds have been brought back over the last 4,000 years, quite a lot, different times to actually experience the planet and its transition for the now. Because it's been extreme, to say the least. And so, so I realized what I'm meant to be doing, meditated 6 hours a day. But one thing I can say, I was meditating and cleared my mind that, okay, because that means I'm here. Nothing happened. Next day, nothing happened. A month went by, nothing happened, and it took a while. And what I learned very quickly is that the off-planet, beings, if your soul's from a particular, faction of beings like Palladian, Arcturian, whatever, they're quite brutal. They won't waste their time with people who aren't committed because, they're going to train you and you get downloads and things like this. So basically what they do is they just sit back for a bit. How committed are you? Oh, you turned up today. Oh, you turned up today. But when when it opened up, crazy stuff happened. I could do some amazing things, long story, but, and they started talking to me and they started teaching me about how my gifts work and how the cause and effect in the human body works. And from that, I developed my ways of working, for the healing. It's really interesting.
Did you always think of yourself as a healer, or did you think that you knew you were gifted, but how did that come along?
Well, it's interesting because, I knew I was different because I didn't fit in with people. I didn't think like them, and I saw all this stuff. But, you go through life, you don't really think about it that much. And then I went for a reading with somebody. She was outside Liverpool, this lady. She was 84. This was 20 years ago. She's probably not here now. And she had a small terraced house. I walked in the terraced house and she said, let's start the reading. So I sat down and she goes, oh, thank you. Thank you. Writing all this stuff down. So I'm sitting there, I think, okay. So, well, you're going to get remarried. Okay. She said, you're going to move to America. Okay. You're going to live off donations and work for God. Oh, okay. So, and I walked out of the house thinking, well, maybe it's right, but who knows, and oh, look, here we are. That's exactly what I do now. So I never thought at the time, but after I went bankrupt and went to Belize and everything else, I started realizing that, I had gifts and I started working with healing, just trying it out, and people were getting like, oh, wow, that makes such a difference. To the point where, I could read people's auras, I can remote view in people's bodies, see what's, the sickness is, understand cause and effect. And then I met a lady who's a world-leading industrial toxicologist, top of the game. She's actually been to DARPA and all these dark places to understand how all this nanotechnology works. And I met her, and that's where I understood about Morgellons disease. And I thought, wow, this is crazy stuff. Because Morgellons is off-planet technology. It's 10 to the minus 9 small little bits. It's graphene, which is carbon. And you've got all sorts of bindings to it, like nylon 36. Shirt is nylon 9. Nylon 33, silicates, plant material. And the way they've bound it, it grows in the body. And people have argued with me, well, it's just fungus. It's not fungus, it's nanotech. So what do you need for growth? You need carbon, oxygen, water. So what they've done is the way they've bound it, nylon grows. And how do you make nylon grow? Well, it's the way they've bound it to the actual particles. It's incredible stuff. Scary though, because it's not good in the body. And I've dealt with so many people with Morgellons, it's untrue, and got rid of it, so.
Before you started getting into the diseases and everything that may not have been formed here, I mean, you have been somebody who is pushing the limits on trying to figure out contact. What do the ETs want with us? Are they good? Are they bad? Are they evil? Are they some sort of demonic entity? When we go back in time, what have you learned about these things? We got about 90 seconds to go before we go to break.
Well, the malevolent ones, the bad ones, are there to control humanity. A lot of them live on the planet, like the Anunnaki, Draconians, Luciferians. Luciferians are connected to the Vatican, and the Greys as well. They ruin their planet, Reticula, in the Orion's belt. So they've been abducting. They came down here basically to produce humanoid, Greys, so that they can actually keep their race going. And so they're manipulative. And basically Anunnaki, Draconians and Luciferians got together and want to take over the planet. So, yeah.
So you think there's a battle for humanity then?
Oh, gosh, yeah. We can go more into that. It's really interesting. So,
why do you think that is? What's the 40-second answer?
40-second answer is that the planet is so rich in minerals, and it's got a lot of plant life and everything else, and there's a jealousy for a lot of planets who don't have this level of minerals like gold and everything else that want to actually take over the planet and and mine it and basically suck the minerals out of it.
Very weird. Very weird. You know what? I'm going to get you to hold on right there, Chris, as we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. When we return with Christopher Macklin, we are going to get into what do the aliens want? Why are they here? What is their purpose? It's going to get deep here on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we are clear, my friend.
Okay, bless you.
Just a reminder to you that our YouTube and podcast audience can hear us. Our radio audience cannot. Glenn John McEnroe, how you doing? Trucker Andrew, good to see you. Great start, Christopher. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, bless you. Glad you enjoyed it.
Dirty Filth, your arms are looking hairy as ever. Got your microphone on, Filthy.
I do. I was looking for it. It was over on the other side, so I couldn't swear. Look at those things. Holy Dave. You can't really see it with the light too much, but
You're hairy.
I know.
You are hairy.
I think that's bad. You see my chest.
Oh, that's just horrible. Horrible. You need to make a chest hair picture for your Facebook profile page.
You know what, Dave? That's never going to happen because I haven't changed my Facebook profile page in 10,000 years.
Well, I realize that, but it would be good.
I can't break the record now.
Come on, Filthy. Your fans are calling for it.
I'm fairly good at disappointing people. Settle down.
But you don't disappoint us, though.
Not my art fans, but Dave mostly. Sorry, Dave won't be there tomorrow or the next day or the day after that.
I know. We're going to miss you.
I know. But if it's any consolation, Mrs. Filth says next time we hang out, you can have one upwards stroke of my chest hair.
I love it. Love it.
I got the paperwork in order and everything, Dave. Don't worry.
Good. As long as there's an NDA.
There's always an NDA. I got a stack of them.
Beautiful. All right.
So you guys going to go to the Haunted Museum, Dave?
I'm not.
Area
Merle
51?
will.
Of course.
I'm going to Area 51 for sure, yeah.
Are you going to get another weird picture like the last one you got that was all super glitch mode weirdness?
Maybe. Maybe.
Do they got a hot
You
dog
never
stand
know.
or anything out there?
What's that?
Do they have a hot dog stand way out in the desert there?
They do. They do have like a diner there.
Well, I know about that one. But they should have a guy selling hot dogs or something like that at the edge of Area 51.
Maybe.
I think it'd be a good business move. People would go there just to see how crazy he is. This is going to be a Nightcrawler cartoon, Dave. It's hilarious, trust me.
I like it.
I just got to wait for the paint to dry here.
That's good stuff, Filthy.
So I got to ask you, Dave, what do you think about tomorrow? What do you think is going to happen? Happy or sad, Dave, at about 10 o'clock p.m.?
Did you vote for separation yet?
I was talking about hockey, Dave.
I know.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
asking if-
Alberta. Yes, we're supposed to vote for separation, apparently. I'm not sure when they're going to send that to us, but I don't know. If we get ice cream on Fridays, I'm pretty good to go.
Dude, Danielle Smith will just butter you up with ice cream.
If it's some like good ice cream, like a nice tiger stripe,
Yeah.
like Pa Peterson's in Edmonton. Okay, I'm sorry, Dave. I got to plug this real quick here. If you live in Edmonton and you've never been to Pa Peterson's ice cream on the West End by JP High School, just go there. Cash only. It's like you can get. They got this little lunchbox special. It's burgers and fries. I think it's still like $5. They're immune to inflation. Old Chinese guy and his wife runs the place. Best people ever. Somehow they're still alive when I've been there since junior high school. That's like 72 years minimum. But yes, Pa Peterson's on the West End. Go there. Support those people because they make the best lunch. And their gravy's good. And also they have vending machines where you can still use your quarters. Anyways, Dave. That's unsolicited, by the way. I just thought about it right now, and I'm going to go there
I
tomorrow.
love it.
I'm going to get a burger.
All
Anyways.
right. Thank you, Filthy. Louise, how are you? Nice to see you. Anybody else jump in here? Walter Kochabinski, nice to have you here. Richard Minnick, thank you for the super chat, along with T-Bone for kicking things off tonight. Very much appreciate the love and support. Here we go. Go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. We call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We are having a great time tonight. Christopher Macklin is here from the Global Enlightenment Project. Sometimes I speak too fast. I just run right over that, which I did right there. Darn it. Anyways, Christopher is going to break down ETs as we check it on out. His website, globalenlightenmentproject.com. Christopher, welcome back.
Thanks, Dave, for having me. Bless you. It's great. It's great to be here.
We're having fun with you tonight, my man. We really are. And I want to ask you, okay, because in the last half hour, late in the last half hour, you stated that, you know, there are some good ETs, there are some bad ETs, but they all seem to have agendas. Talk about those agendas for a little bit. If we go species to species, like let's take the Greys, for instance.
Yeah, so what do the Greys want? Well, like I say, reticular, you know, the grey reticulars destroyed their planet with, you know, nuclear wars and things like that. There's been a lot going on in Orion's belt. So what they wanted to do is come down here, and they actually started with Hitler signing a deal that, you know, they can abduct people for technology. Now, you know, the sad thing is for that is that it's like giving a 3-year-old keys to a Ferrari. You know, we're not ready for this technology. And of course, you know, obviously you can see what's happening. But anyway, so they signed a deal. He got, you know, the technology, and of course the Greys abducting people. And first of all, the interesting thing about it is they were making kind of grey, what would you call them? Kind of robotic things. The problem is that they wanted grey humanoids. And what was happening is that, you know, they were basically stealing eggs and sperm, fertilizing them. But if you have them in a plastic pod, I don't know whether you guys know this, but without a woman's womb, you can't get a proper human soul in, because you need all that God energy. So what was happening is you're getting some sort of AI, draconian developed sort of AI soul thing, you know. So were they human? Kind of not really, you know, because they haven't got the proper human soul. So what you've got is a human kind of body with some sort of robotic, you know, soul in it. And it wasn't cutting the mustard because it's AI, you know, there's no love there. They wanted the love and they wanted the compassion, everything else to do with human beings. So what they do is they started abducting women and seeding them. It sounds horrible, but it's what they were doing. So I've had so many clients say, well, I thought I was pregnant for about 4 or 5 weeks. They put monitors on you, you know, implants, so they can actually monitor the body. When the soul comes in, they would abduct the woman again, take out the fetus, you know, because it's now got a soul, then they could put it in a plastic pod and develop it. And I've had so many women say, God, you know, I feel as I was abducted, and then I felt pregnant, and then it just went away, you know, and of course, they wipe the conscious mind, but they can't get rid of the subconscious mind. So that's what they ended up doing to get humanoids. They were putting some DNA of theirs but of course they were seeding these poor ladies who were basically baby factories for the Greys. And then, of course, it was transferred over to here with the Paperclip project signed by the government over here so that they could actually still, abduct people. And that was all stopped in 2017. Now they are banned from this time and space. But the problem is I actually chaired the meeting with two other Bacusnet beings. And we were looking at the difference. Think about this. What's the difference in violation education? So, when you come down here, if you're a starseed, you volunteer to come down here. I don't know what you were thinking, but, you volunteer. I always tell people, when God says, guys, have we got people to volunteer to come down to Mother Earth? Pretend you've got diarrhea, run to the bathroom, lock the door, and don't come out until all the volunteers are chosen, But, that's just a joke, but I love being down here, but it's very it's a real mess. It's so satanic right now. It's gone way over the odds. And I'd like to talk about starseeds after because I think it's a really important subject. But anyway, so you come down here and but before you come, they kind of say, well, let me just tell you a little bit about Mother Earth. There's draconians, there's this, there's that, the snake beings. They're spirits. They live in the fourth dimension. They might attach to you and everything else. So when you come down here, you have to learn to deal with them. And the power of, in quotes, maps of intent, or the power of your will, is what you can actually control them with. You can remove them from people's bodies. It's just that people don't realize they've got the power within them. I don't believe in gurus. I don't believe in anything like that. You are your own guru. And what am I? I'm a facilitator to help you get back by releasing emotion, take your power back, and get out there and do amazing things. But so is that a violation? No, it's an education, because you come into this classroom to experience these attachments and things, and you have to get rid of them, and you have to release the emotion, and get your what do you call it, vibration and everything back to your sovereign self, and release the emotion of being down here. Just by being down here, we ingest a ton of emotion. I always laugh, and say, well, you come out the vaginal opening when you're born, and there's the RS in the corner. Welcome to Mother Earth. Here's your invoice. And then it goes down from that. It's a crazy enslaved planet. It really is. So,
do you think the purpose of them taking us is because they cannot breed or reproduce themselves?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They've destroyed the whole mechanism, and by the by the nuclear wars, they're sterile. So they've had to find a way of basically seeding human ladies and being able to actually get humanoids. And that's why there's a lot of ladies. I've dealt with some people who feel as like they've got 15 children or something because they've been seeded 15 times, and it's a violation. So I went to the Galactic Federation meeting on, it was in 2007. Can't remember the month. I think it was July, June or something like that. And we chaired it. There's about 8,000 different sets of beings there, and sometimes you go physically and sometimes they take your soul. So you can't remember the whole thing, but I remember talking about the violation of education. It was agreed to ban them from this time space. So, but they're kind of still coming through. How are they coming through? Well, what they're doing is they're creating portals. So it's a different time, but same space. So we didn't go far enough at that time, but at least they're not abducting people anymore. It seems to have stopped completely. So that was a good thing. But that was the Greys.
Let's throw a little sidebar in here for a second, because there's still a great debate of whether or not humans have been traded for technology, whether it's the Germans, whether it's the Eisenhower Greada Treaty. What do you think's going on with that?
It's definitely a fact. They started off with Hitler. They signed a deal with Hitler, like I say, to actually, abduct people and do what they needed. And okay, here's your technology. And that's where all this technology came from. And Morgellons, we don't have the capability to even manufacture this stuff. And in fact, Morgellons particles with all the bindings is actually grown. You can't manufacture. It's too small. It's 10 to the -9. And so, but that's where the technology, anti-gravity, all these things, Stargate technology, all these sort of things have been given to us. But to be honest, I don't think the human race is ready for all this technology personally, but it's what it is. So
Do you think then that they are implanting us with things that we personally can't handle as a human civilization?
I think the technology, I think we weren't ready for it, because I think this nanotechnology is scary stuff. I mean, at DARPA, they've developed nanotechnology. If you dust it on concrete, if you switch the frequency on, it will digest it. So you can put it in a house, it'll digest it. If you put it on, they've also got other technology that you can actually dust the human body, switch it on, it'll just digest the human body just like that. I mean, how scary is that? And it's weaponry. Then you've got Morgellons, which is a weapon as well. That's actually activated. You actually have Sorry,
go ahead, please.
Yeah, you've got nanotubes, nanospheres, and the nanospheres have loaded viruses, 92, which are triggered by different frequencies. That's where the 5G problem comes in. So, yeah, I don't think we're ready for this. It should have evolved naturally, not just been given to us, because you can use this stuff for good or for evil.
For people who may not know what Morgellons disease is, it's an undiagnosed disease by the medical community, but many people believe it is very real. Explain what it is.
Well, it's actually, the FDA actually recognized it in 2017 as an actual disease. So what is it? Well, it's nanotechnology. So what you've got is you've got graphene bound with Borrelia, which is the stealth pathogen of Lyme disease, bound with things like nylon, silicates, plant material. So what happens is when it's in your body, it starts to grow through your body. Now, in addition to that, you've got also graphene tubes where they've got complementary metal oxide arrays in them. So it's like a computer which can transmit and receive frequencies. So they can monitor your body, they can monitor your heart rate, they can monitor your brain, they can monitor everything, but it actually grows through the body. And that's the scary thing, because, people start to become transhuman because it replicates itself. And then you get obviously the nanospheres with 92 loaded viruses. They've got things like cerebellar zoster, which is chicken pox. They've got Marburg virus, which is, attacks the brain and things like that. So it's loaded. So it's like a smoking gun in your bloodstream. You go and hit one of those frequencies and it'll release that particular virus. If you hit all the frequencies, it'll release everything. It's crazy stuff.
And do you have to be abducted to get this put in you?
They've actually put it in the chemtrails, but they've also put it in the jabs of late. So, but it's interesting because with the chemtrails, or even you don't necessarily get Morgellons, but everyone's got the nano with them. So how do you get Morgellons? How do you get it to grow? You have to damage the DNA. The old way was agrobacterium, and it's in GMO foods or it's in past needly things. The new way is CRISPR technology, and that's actually loaded in the needly things in 2019, and that actually damages the DNA. It splices the genetics. DNA, RNA, immune system's all connected, so you've got no immune response to keep it at bay. So the stuff starts replicating, and it's I mean, we do have a protocol to get rid of it. It's a 35-week program. It strips. The only way to get rid of it is to strip it out using timeline splitting and separate it out of the body, because it's grown in the tissue. It's crazy stuff.
Getting back to this being like ET technology, is that how they kind of transmute whether it's Morgellons or other diseases into hybrids? Do they use that as a DNA test, or how do they do it?
Well, the thing is about it is, it is technology. They do a DNA. Well, they damage the DNA. So your DNA. The problem with the damage of the DNA is that your soul's not compatible then with your DNA. So your soul lifts out of the body, and that's one of the problems with all this. People can't. Their soul can't live in the body because the light body of the DNA has been changed because of the chromosomes being spliced. And so, and they can target anybody, with this stuff. It's really crazy. But 5G is the thing that activates it.
Now, you said the medical field started recognizing this in 2017, I believe, but there still is a lot of debate between the medical community on whether or not this is some sort of delusional psychosis that people are having with some of the symptoms, or if it is real. And it seems to be split down the middle of what is truly happening. How do we take that debate and tell doctors of the scientific mind that this is of some sort of alien technology?
That's a good question. I actually don't know the answer. I mean, I've talked to doctors about it, and they said, well, I wrote a book about it, The History, Truth, and Healing of Manufactured Diseases. And, if you look at the dates, all manufactured diseases, stealth pathogens are manufactured, they gain a function. So you've got Agent Orange. It was developed in 1965, obviously used in the Vietnam War. Then came Lyme disease in 75, but they're almost the same. They're slightly different because they attack different things. Like Agent Orange attacks your nervous system. Lyme is just grows in the body, and you get lots of toxins and everything else. And then HIV/AIDS was developed in 1981. And then, and then you got Gulf War syndrome, 91. It's all the same stealth pathogens. And then Morgellons was identified in 2002. And, like I say, I've been working on it for 14 years. We've stripped it out of the body. And same with Lyme disease, same with HIV/AIDS. This protocol works for everything. But the only way to get them out really is timeline splitting. And the reason for that is because, when you take something from another planet, like a technology or whatever, on that planet, there's probably herbs and things that will take care of it. But here, there's not. So you bring something from there to here, and there's no plants and things to really take care of it. So, yeah, it's crazy.
Which alien species brought this down?
The Greys. Yeah, that's the technology they brought down.
Does it say the reticulin or the Anunnaki Greys?
The reticular, yeah. They're the ones who brought it down. And they're the ones who've been abducting people.
Oh, yeah, I know them well. I know them well.
Bless your heart.
When you are talking to somebody with Morgellons, because this topic, I did a show on Morgellons probably in like 2016, because I had a couple listeners who claimed to have suffered from it. So I'm partially familiar with it. But people report that they are experiencing symptoms like crawling sensations, skin lesions, perception of fibers under the skin. And the two people that I know, and I cannot go by this, I'm not a scientist, but in having conversation with them, I'm going to be blunt with you. They did not seem sane at all. Did not seem sane at all. And I'm not trying to put them down. I'm not saying that it isn't real. Please don't take that as I'm trying to contradict your research or your work or anything. I'm just saying from my personal experience in talking to people, the one lady was so bad she had to wear oven mitts around her house because she was pulling out her hair. She was scratching her arms all the time to the point of blood. I mean, it's a scary thing. And she's gone to the doctors about it. And they all claim that she had, one lady claimed that she had mental illness, and she obviously didn't buy that. And, with most people at that time who had Morgellons, this was a self-diagnosis that they had to make. So, I mean, where do you stand on the mentality of it all?
What's interesting about Morgellons is that it's AI, so the problem is when it's actually growing through your body, it's actually can contact your brain waves. And so they get all these kind of crazy voices and things. And the stuff is talking to them. I mean, it might sound crazy, but it is. And they get psychotic. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of people that have been so psychotic that I couldn't even put them on the protocol to strip it out because they're just like, at the end of their tether. I mean, imagine if you got, the fibers coming out is either silicate or it's actually nylon 3633. We've tested all this stuff, with Dr. Hildy under electron microscopes, mass spectrometers, and we know all the components of it, and it's real. It's definitely real. But of course, if you go to the doctors and oh my God, I can't, I'm trying to pull my hair out, I don't know what to do. Oh my God, you need to go to a psychiatrist. They won't know what to do with you. So I think you're absolutely right. Originally the CDC and FDA didn't approve it as a disease. They have now, and but even doctors don't want to know. I mean, in the new needly things, if you want to call them, all this stuff is in there. Morgellons, CRISPR technology to splice your genetics, and so off you go. And people are getting Morgellons up the wazoo right now. That's why it's growing through the body. It's embedding itself in the heart with myocarditis. They're finding squid in the arteries, which is nylon 3633. All these sort of things. So it's definitely true. I've seen it. One of the other things, depending on what chromosome gets damaged, you can get a reaction where you actually get like opaque bugs. It looks like what a wasp is, but it looks like an opaque wasp watering out your skin. And we've analyzed these things again. It's all developed from these particles. It's crazy.
You mentioned that it's jumping out right in front, but I mean, not to contradict with what you're saying, but according to Google, CDC or the FBA have recognized officially Morgellons as a clinical disorder. They are looking into it, but they haven't done that yet.
Oh, I thought they had in 2017. Sorry, Blake. That's my misinformation. I thought they'd actually,
I just wanted to look it up because I like I said, this Morgellons thing I find very intriguing. I do. And I have seen photographs of the what looks like fiber optics coming out of a person's skin, not hair, like actual fiber optic type of incident.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
Inside now, people claim that they are moving. These wires are moving. Are they really moving?
Oh, they are, yeah, because they're kind of, I mean, what I describe it as biologically alive, but it's dead stuff because it doesn't have a soul. So it's been manufactured. So, but the biologics of it, it's got like say the stealth pathogen Borrelia in it. It's bound with the particle. It's bound with silicates, all the different things like plant material. So it's actually alive. It sounds crazy, but it really is. I mean, I've seen the particles under microscopes, and they move around. The fibers, the nylon. It's not just nylon, of course. It's got the Borrelia with it and everything else. It thrashes around, and that's why they feel all this crawly sensation through the whole body. So very interesting.
We've creepy. Got about 1 minute to go here before we have to go to break. At the top of the hour, Christopher Macklin is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. The fact that the Greys dropped this off, I mean, when I look at a Grey, the one thing that I notice about a Grey is it doesn't have any genitalia, it doesn't even have nipples. Is it exactly. Because they have totally changed their own biology?
Oh yeah, I think things were going down there, and then obviously had these wars, and I mean they've been sterilized basically. I think by nuclear fallout, and also they were evolving. I think they were messing about with all the things that we're messing about with, and basically the body's evolved so that they don't have genitalia. So,
Hold that thought, mister. We are through 1 hour of Spaced Out Radio. Hour 2.
This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
All right. Good hour, Christopher. Good hour.
well, you enjoying it, bless you?
I'm enjoying the conversation. I really am.
Bless your heart.
Right now, we're going to turn things over to Dirty Filth. He's going to break down his cartoon. We got about 5.5 minutes, okay?
Okay, bless you.
All yours, Dirty. Don't forget to unleash the microphone.
Unleash the microphone. Okay, yes. Currently, second here, cat's being a little rowdy. Here we got the Nightcrawler with his Only Pants account that he's filming himself on because the Nightcrawler steals pants. Let's be honest, folks. Fresno Nightcrawler scooting around, pantsless. First thing he wants to do, grab some pants. Also, there may be a chance that there may be a Nightcrawler plushie in the future. It's like crazy neighbors. To coincide with this drawing, we have Nightcrawler hanging out in plain sight with the Mothman as well. Oh, yes, Bob Birkins. Excuse me. Got to give you this. Got to give you these hands, Bob Birkins. One day, look at those suckers. Look at the hair on those bastards. Those will be in your jars at your house. Cosmic hands. Telling you, Bob, it's going to happen one day. So, yes, here's. I also have to show one extra drawing here for a friend of mine. It's Carl Stanton and Alan hanging out at the local pub watching hockey. And Carl is telling the other two aliens, it's called hockey, Alan. Players are allowed to physically assault each other without legal ramifications. And they can't do that. It's the only sport in the world that they can basically like square up, punch each other in the face, and not get charged with physical assault. And all the playoffs are going on right now. So everybody north of the 49th parallel is into that as well. Yes, Mantis Cozy Creator. Just like OnlyFans, but only pants. Hey, Mark Sanchez, do you, I hope you're wearing a, oh, bloody hell. I hope you're wearing a nice Hawaiian shirt right now. I was going to say Halloween shirt, but I'm hoping you have a Halloween shirt handy at some point in time in the near future. A Halloween Hawaiian shirt, if possible. If not, I may have to design something, create it, and mail it out to you. T-Bone, did you know that there is a secret fourth alien? Kind of keep it under wraps or whatever, but Fabrice is, he's got to go back and get the rest of his crashed ship. So there is a chance, if anybody's missed out on the previous bunch of aliens, there is a fourth secret alien in the works. Can't really tell any more than that. I'm bound by NDAs. It's terrible. But all I can say is trust me, bro. we got perhaps one more plushie left. I'll talk about it in the future. Dave's lurking back into his room here. No, unfortunately, Bob, he does not work for RoboCorp or any other corporation. He basically takes care of Carl, Stanton, and Alan to make sure that they're not causing too much trouble. But we'll talk about Fabrice. Well, I guess everyone's going to Vegas tomorrow, so we'll talk about Fabrice next week. He might even make an appearance. Hello, Fabrice. The Rude Riders. Do you think the Rude Riders get like free barbecue on Fridays?
Looking good, Dirty.
Thanks, Dave. There may be a possible extra gray alien handy, but I'm not sure about it yet. I gotta release the information when you guys get back from Vegas.
I love it. Love it.
Okay, have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, Dirty Filth. You were wonderful
Look at that
once
arm hair.
again. Appreciate you. Go give the cat some treats for us if you don't mind. Christopher, we got about 15 seconds. Thank you tonight to T-Bone, Richard, and Mike for the super chats. Greatly appreciate the love and support. We're going to get going in 5 seconds. Christopher Macklin. But first, we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Zarzuela. Zarzuela is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. All right, Christopher Macklin with the Global Enlightenment Project is here, talking about the darker side of what ETs are doing to us. Now, I know we can focus on the dark side of it all, but I want to get to the lighter side here for a moment, Christopher, because there are ETs that people claim actually take a look at trying to help humanity heal. People have been taken where they have had healings done to them. I can say that happened to me once last year. I was blown away by it. It actually made me very emotional when I woke up in the morning because I felt different. I mean, who are the good guys here? Who should we be hoping comes down to save us?
Well, they're helping us, and it's interesting. You've got the Palladians, Arcturians, Lumerians, and Ladtarians, Andromedans, Lyrans, and of course, there's 5 Melchizedek beings here, and I'm one of them. And there's a lot of those starseed factions have been born here. There's probably about 1% of the planet is starseed people. And like I said, they volunteer to come back and help humanity. Why do you need starseeds down here? The answer is because there's a very the Keys of Enoch have got various rules about the universe and the planet and everything else, and one of them is free will. Even Prime Creator who created this thing can't interfere with free will. Now, if it goes south like it has done, and it's getting very dark, how do you get help down here? Because they're just like hands tied, can't do anything, So what they've done is they've got volunteers who have basically been born. Some of the starseed races, the good guys, can be born, with their souls just coming straight into human bodies. Some of them can't. You need enough DNA to be able to hold the soul of that faction. Like, for example, the Arcturians. My mother was basically she was abducted. It was agreed before she came on the planet, but she was abducted to put me down here because they had to get enough DNA of the McKinsey. So, and the reason is, like I say, it gets over the free will. So, when we're down here, say, hey guys, we need some help down here. And because you've been born on the planet, it gets over the free will because, you're born as like a, starseed, but a human, and so you can pull help from the ethers down here. And so they are helping a lot. I mean, one of the factions that do healing, on their ships is the Palladians. They have ships going around and picking people up, fixing them, putting them back down, and they're doing it all the time. So all these races are here for a reason. The Arcturians are the ones who, we have 3 watchers that keep an eye on us, and the Arcturians is it, So that's the 3 ships that actually turned up when I was at Stardust Ranch with John. What was John's second name? I can't remember.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
You know who I mean, yeah. Yeah, he's a special guy, bless him. But John, I can't remember his second name, his family name. But yeah, that's what's happening. So we've got a lot of help this time. And I think the problem is the Anunnaki, Draconians, and all these guys have put a firmament over a part of the planet to entrap us in, so it's very difficult. Sometimes there's I was thinking about this the other day. There's a soul recycling process where if you go in the wrong direction, you're going to go up under the firmament and come back down and be reborn here. You can't get out in the universe. And so very important to, you can't even pass, with grace. You have to be aware that, we're not going to that light. We better turn around and go the other way, and there's so much manipulation going on. But, the whole point about it is I think we've got to be aware. We've got to, enlighten ourselves enough to understand what's going on because the manipulation is so big.
I get that, and I can appreciate that. I know when I was healed last year, I was starting to have a little bit of heart trouble. And I woke up the next morning. I knew I'd been taken that night. And it was weird because I had gone to bed at 1 o'clock, and at 2:09, I knew that I had been taken because I woke up. And first time ever that I had been taken, where when I woke up, I knew they were behind me, and I didn't want to turn over. I was scared. I knew they were there, and I'm like, don't turn over. They're there. Don't turn over. And then I remember getting mad at myself saying, dude, you run a radio show about these topics. This is what you live for, this opportunity. So take a look. And I started to peer over because I was sleeping on my left side, started to peer over my right shoulder, and outside my bedroom window, I saw this big white flash of light, and boom, they were gone. I got up to go to the bathroom, and the second my feet hit the floor, I was frozen cold. I was like shaking cold. My teeth were chattering. I went to the bathroom, and after I finished, I was so cold, I ended up having a shower to warm up. Then I went back to bed. And when I got up the next morning, my chest on the left side was still cold. Just one little spot, on my left side was cold. And I knew that they had done something because my chest was starting to get sore in that area.
Yeah.
And and it was getting to the point where I felt maybe I should go see a doctor about this. And my chest to this day has not bothered me in that area. And I actually broke down a little bit because I knew something good happened.
Yeah. That's brilliant. It does happen, It really does happen. They'll take you on board and they'll fix things, I mean,
The funny part about it is they did that to my dad the same night. It's the first time I was ever taken with my dad.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, last year I had an incident where I was talking about the Vatican on a lot of podcasts, the satanic stuff, what goes on, And I suddenly got really sick. they hit me with a low frequency energy weapon, and my aortic valve, 2 cusps got melted together, and I got really sick. And I was talking to the accused beings, could we fix this quick enough? And they said, no, you're gonna have to have an operation, not live longer than 2-3 weeks, you know. And I could, you know, when they put me in for the operation, they said, how far can you walk? A block. I said, you have to be kidding. I can only walk 3 feet. And anyway, it was a bicuspal valve. Got really sick, put lots of weight on 80 pounds of water because my heart was really bad. And the heart was okay per se. The only thing that was wrong with it, you know, all the blood vessels, everything was clear. It's just the heart valve had been hit. And they said, oh, it's a bicuspal valve. I said, well, I've never had one before. And I've had my heart scanned in the past. And I checked with my kids. They checked. And I checked with my father and checked with my mother. And none of them had bicuspal valves. So it was definitely an energy weapon. And so I got a valve replacement. And here I am, you know. So, but what was interesting, I'd love to share this with you. Before 2009, my blood type is O negative. So 2009, I did a complete DNA reset. I got the Macklin beings, they repaired all the chromosomes, connected all the helix together, reset the DNA of the cells back to the blueprint. It takes about 12 to 15 weeks because they start in the cell where life began and it moves out. So anyway, when I was in the hospital, I had to have 3 pints of blood because my blood doesn't clot. The platelets don't clot that quickly. So they said, we're going to have to give you blood. So that's okay, you know, I'm O negative. They said, well, we have to check it. You know, they came back and said, no, you're not. You're A negative. So with the DNA change, my blood type has changed. The RNA had changed as well, you know. So that was really interesting, I thought. So
why would the aliens heal us?
Why do they do that? Because they want us strong. I think if you're making a difference and you're on the front lines, I mean, they couldn't pick me up or do stuff quick enough. I mean, I was too far gone. I had to get a new heart valve, but they do help us heal because they want us to be strong so we can move forward with the work. I mean, you know, your gift is doing the podcast, you know, and you've probably got other gifts as well. My gift is doing the healing, you know. Am I a chef? No. Can I paint? Definitely not. You know, if I went to a gala with one of my paints and said, get out and never come back, you know, because it's not a gift of mine. But I think we've all got gifts. And if it's service to others like you're doing and like I'm doing, they want you to carry on and, you know, do your very best with it. But I think also that people who are service to others and are doing their gifts, like Starseed people, they really get attacked by these entities like Anunnaki, Draconian. They're trying to attach to you. They attack you all the time relentlessly. And that's why a lot of Starseed people are born here who are very depressed and can't get out from under. You know, you have to have an inner strength beyond so that you can actually pull yourself out and take your power back. And I think that's very important.
Do you think that the reason why they heal us is to help us live, or do you think it's to help strengthen our, like, let me rephrase that question. Is it to help us live because they have us on a mission? Because not everybody gets healed. I mean, we've seen people pass away a lot from things that you were like, damn it, like, where are those aliens, you know, to help out in this situation? You know, and I guess in humanity, we're a little selfish about that. But, you know, what's your thoughts? How do they choose us?
Well, I mean, there's a few types of people. There's NCPs on this planet, robotic type people. There's a lot of them. There's the average human being who's coming down to learn and then comes back to learn again and then again and again because their souls are quite young, and so you need the experience of the planet to be able to understand the spiritual aspect. And it can take several. It can take 100 lifetimes, 1,000 lifetimes, who knows? And then there's the Starseed people who have volunteered to come down, whose soul is definitely from a race. You know, a lot of young souls are probably a combination of different races, but if your soul's pure like Palladian or Arcturian, Lemurian, Atlantarian, and you volunteer to come down here, they want to heal you because, you know, they've put you down here, you know, you've grown, and then you're doing your work and they want you to carry on with the work. And I think that's very important for them. I normally
You
start
mentioned
to.
that you are O negative. I'm O positive. Do you buy into the whole Rh negative blood theory when it comes to ET contact?
Yes and no. I mean, I'm A negative now, so that's back to the blueprint of the Akashic records. So I was O negative before I did the DNA change to actually repair all the chromosomes, and what they do is they put my DNA back to the blueprint of the Akashic records before I was born. So now I'm A negative, but don't forget, your negative positive can change if your DNA's been damaged, and so you can't really tell. I mean, yes, I think it originally was O negative, but it might have changed because everyone's DNA is being messed with. You got agobacterium, damage to the DNA. You got transmission frequencies, damage to the DNA. 5G, damage to the DNA. So many different things that is affecting our DNA that no one's got the blueprint in the Akashic records. And because that being's created the Akashic records, because it has the blueprint of when you're down here, it's also got a map of your life since you're a dot. Why do they create them? And the answer is because if you go back in time, on a time machine, so we go back to 1936. So I go back on my timeline, I can observe, but I can't change anything. Because, for example, take Hitler, we want to take him out. Well, you can't, because his timeline's already happened. So what you're doing is going back an observer, because if you could change things, the whole time-space continuum would be in such a mess. It would just go south real quick. So they've blocked people from going back in time on time machines and changing things to the past. Yes, you can move forward to the future and you can observe as well, but you can't go back in the past and change anything.
So you're saying time travel's not real then?
Oh, it's real, yeah, but past you can't change it. In the future, you can observe and you can be there, because the future's not written. I mean, if you look at our timelines, we've got infinite timelines. Like, I'm doing healing at the moment. I'm on a timeline, I think, of divine alignment, and service to others. So I think I'm on a divine timeline. But what happens if I want to go on another timeline? I want to be a hairdresser, or I want to be a chef. Then, I could go and train as a chef. Is it my gift? No. But I could do it. So, suddenly you go veer off that timeline, you go on another timeline. And that's part of the Akashic record. It's the record of what's happened since your soul was first created. But no, time travel is real, for sure.
Let's get to some audience questions here. So I always like to try and get the audience involved with what we're doing as well. So let us go over to Derek here. Oh, that's the password. Let's go to T-Bone here. Mr. Macklin, do you believe you are from the Melchizedek line?
Yeah, there's 5 Melchizedek beings here, and I'm one of them. So I've got the DNA. It's not just channeling, it's actually being a Melchizedek being. Yeah, for sure.
For people who may not know what the Melchizedek line is, could you explain that?
They're from the ultimate dimension. They do a lot of work with, like the planet and different things like the Akashic records, and they help Prime Creator do things. And they also police this time space. So, we come down periodically to try and just help, like the Palladians do, like the Acturians do. So, yeah, I mean, there's certain things about my body that are different. My heart is very big. That's why they had to do open heart surgery, because it's the size of a volleyball. It's supposed to be the size of a grapefruit, I think. And the valve was too big that they had to reduce the hole to put a smaller valve in, because that's the only size, that's the biggest they had. So, and liver's very big, different things, it doesn't really matter, but it's just interesting.
Let's go over to Amanda, who is asking, she asked about your blood type. We had already answered that question, but do you believe, let me rephrase Amanda's question here. Do you believe that blood type is a catalyst for ET contact?
I think blood type, yeah, it's normally it's off. There is a big thing about Rh negative for sure, but what happens if your DNA is different and it's been damaged? If you've got alien DNA, you're going to have an Rh negative blood type. But what happens if your DNA has been damaged, and then it means that your blood type can change? And I mean, with the doctors, I actually proved to them that my blood type before 2009 was O negative, because I used to give blood to the National Transfusion Service in England. So I've got a little book that says, O negative. And then this hospital I went to have this, heart valve replaced, it's A negative. So it's changed completely. So now it's A negative. So what I'm saying is, if yours is O positive, it maybe it was originally O negative, but the change of the DNA with the toxins and all the stuff they put in our food and water and what's happening in the sky, it can definitely change. So you can't really go by blood type.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I thought that was going to be your answer. All right, let's continue on here with some audience questions, as we got about 3.5 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. T-Bone is asking, how do you cure Morgellons?
Well, the Melchizedek created the Akashic records. So what we do is the only way to get out of the body, because it's growing through the tissue, is we split your now future timeline in two. Takes a lot of energy to do this. You're put on a path of divine alignment, complete wellness, where all the Morgellons particles, the Borrelia, Lyme, HIV/AIDS, Agent Orange, any other stuff, is eradicated in the body. On the timeline to the sun, what we're doing is separating the particles out and all the, the stealth pathogens and everything else, and locking them on a timeline to the sun. So as time goes on, it separates out the body. The reason we did this is because Morgellons has a metallic structure that can actually switch dimensions to the fourth dimension. So I used to use an energy I call it space-time continuum energy. It's very electrostatic, and it breaks down the molecular structure of this stuff to benign for the body. So it breaks it down. It just took way too long. But what happens if it can switch dimensions? So if it switches out of this dimension, it's not being affected by the energy. And then you switch the energy off and it switches back. So I had to find a way of locking it onto a timeline so that it, even if it goes out the fourth dimension, when it comes back, it's still on the timeline to the sun. It can't get off that timeline. So that was the massive discovery I had 4 or 5 years ago. We worked on 900 people on the protocol. And like I say, it's had amazing results, getting rid of Lyme, I've worked with a lot of veterans, getting rid of Agent Orange, HIV, and Morgellons, and now the stuff that's in the needly thing, which is the whole thing. So it strips it out of the body, absolutely.
All right, let's go to Creepypasta here. We got about 90 seconds. Is there anything I could do to attract good aliens so I could interact with them?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is surrender, and the biggest thing I think is getting your vibration up, because you shine like a beacon, and that's getting rid of emotion and just focusing on them. If you want them to come in, clear your mind and just focus on, guys, I want you in. I mean, I can, like I say, wherever I go, if I do some things that they're worried about, then the Actorians will show up, and it's always 3 ships. And last time, from John's ranch, Stardust Ranch, they showed up, I think it was about a mile away, and they were kind of going from 3 to 1 to 3, going behind each other. And then 5-6 minutes later, the military helicopters came around and started. They took a wide berth, but they circled around them. As soon as I shut that portal down, 40 minutes later, they were gone. So it's really interesting. And John took some photos as well. I don't know where he's put them, but he took photos of it. He was blown away by it. So
30 seconds to go here. I mean, it's also putting out good intention. You have to put
it's all about good intention. Absolutely. And clearing your mind, I mean, meditation to me is one of the biggest things, but, really putting the intention out and, just say, oh, come on, guys, can you turn up? You've got to say, come on, I want you to turn up, and I want you to turn up now. Get that energy out there. So important.
I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we are going to go to the break here at the bottom of the hour. We're going to take more audience questions from our YouTube chat room for Christopher Macklin when we return on Space.
You're You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear, my friend.
That's brilliant. Is it doing okay?
Everybody's still engaged. Everybody's going through it. They're loving it.
Oh, bless them. Sorry, I just got a raspy throat. Yeah, thanks for having me on, though. I'm glad you've enjoyed it, bless you.
All right. If you're in our chat room and you have questions for the next half hour, please do me the favor and put them in capital letters. It is easier for me to see. So I would appreciate that. You having fun, Chris?
Yeah, it's wonderful, bless you. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like I say, thanks for having me on. It's been brilliant. How many times do you do this a week?
5 days a week.
Wow. That's great. So when are you going to Las Vegas?
I am leaving at 4 in the morning. So in, what would that be, 7.5 hours?
Yeah. Well, that's not too bad. Is it a conference?
No, we do an annual get together for our SOR team, and then we also kind of let it be that if our listeners want to come, they can come.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's really good. That's brilliant.
Yeah, we have fun with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's nice traveling, but I haven't done much traveling lately. I tend to just do things on Zoom because, we've got so many healings. I do about 3,000 healings a week, with general groups, one-to-one, specialized groups. Then you've got the protocol every day, every single day for, I have to work on people 3 times a day for 34 weeks. So there's a lot going on. So I love it, but yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I love it. Well, it's a passion. I think, it's really important for people to find their passion because it's what gets you up in the morning, getting all excited.
Yes.
And, yeah, I'm doing it and that's it, I think that's really important.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, if you don't have the passion, when I was working on the aircraft things and people say that must be a great job. What? Sitting in front of a computer programming software to work on an autopilot system is just, it wasn't exciting to me, but, I guess I was destined for other things. And I'm glad I did it. It's really good. Yeah, something might be worth as well is covering the population, if you're interested in that. The populations of different years, different centuries, because it doesn't make sense.
We've got about a minute 30.
Okay, look. Let's have another sip of vitamin water.
All right. Big thank you tonight to T-Bone, Richard, Mike, Pam, and K-Van for the super chats. Greatly appreciate your love and support. If you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell, as we are here 7 days a week. Yeah, we are. Why? Because we're silly like that. We are. All right. Here we go in 7 seconds. All right, we're all ready. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. All right. Final time tonight, we say hello to Christopher Macklin. We're kind of delving all over the board here in audience questions about, weird diseases that are thought to be brought on by aliens, ET contact, and so much more. Christopher, thank you for being here. Let's give your website a shout out, which is globalenlightenmentproject.com. globalenlightenmentproject.com. Thank you for being here, Christopher.
Oh, thanks for having me, Dave. Bless you. It's been wonderful. So the audience is great as well. I love them. Bless them.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun, my friend. All right, you ready for more audience questions here?
Absolutely.
All right, let's rock and roll. Let's start off with Amanda, who is asking, do you think aliens and Bigfoot have a connection?
Yeah, I think Bigfoot is definitely, they come through in portals. They can go in a different dimension, but they're great beings. I mean, they're on this planet, but in a different dimension, and can come into this dimension as well. We actually have, a portal here with Bigfoot. It's been seen a couple of times on this 40-acre site I'm on. And we had our friend stay, and she goes, "You better put some curtains up. I don't want Bigfoot looking to." But we have a lot of activity here, fairy beings as well. I've actually seen them. We're sitting by the fire. At the front, there's a big fire pit, and we had some people sitting around. And a fairy being, I'm not joking, it's probably like this big. It was bright fluorescent green. It just flew, slowly past, and then just went into the forest. It was amazing. So there's a lot of activity here. It's incredible.
What do you think Bigfoot is? You have an interest in it?
I think they're very evolved beings, but obviously they're big, they're hairy, but it's just a different type of being, I think. But they do help people heal for sure, So and they're friendly, they're not aggressive. I don't think they're a threat to human race at all. So they're good beings as far as I'm concerned.
All right, let's get to another question here from our audience. Let's go to Jennifer. Do you have any insight on fibromyalgia and CFS and how to heal this?
These things are caused by pathogenic infections. Fibromyalgia, is a crazy world for, I don't know what's wrong with you, because you get inflammation, you get back problems. You need so many symptoms out of 21 symptoms. Oh, you got fibromyalgia. What's causing the inflammation? What's causing, they kind of tell you you've got autoimmune disorder. What's that? Well, it means your immune's actually attacking something it doesn't like. And I see this all the time. So fibromyalgia, and also, if you've got an attachment as well, like if you get an Anunnaki draconian, they attach to you. They sit in the abdomen, so your abdomen bloats because it paralyzes the lower intestine, hangs on the shoulders and neck, so they're always tight. That's some of the symptoms. Taps in the lower back. Over a period of time, damages the L4, L5 disc. And then if you've got pathogens as well, the immune's trying to attack them, and if they get in like the joints or the muscles, your muscles ache. Yeah, it's all, there's a few things that cause it. How do you heal it? Well, we do it all the time. I mean, fibromyalgia is very common now, I would say, but it's exhausting. And of course, if you've got a ton of emotion, that bleeds into the adrenals. So your whole endocrine, and bleeds into thyroid. So your whole endocrine system is off balance. So there's a lot to do. There's things to heal, but we've got rid of it. Takes a few sessions, of course. So yeah, that's how you heal it. I mean, you can take other things like supplements and things, but pathogens don't really go easily because they're gain of function helical bacterial structures. So yeah.
All right, let's
helps.
move on to another question. Let's go to Seymour. I would like to believe that any delegate of planet Earth would be wiser than to enter into an agreement with a party that the Y could never enforce if broken. So why would humans make a deal with aliens?
Because they're on the same side. I mean, we're talking about, a lot of these people, in Congress, in politics and everything else, they either have attachments or they're reptilian hybrids. But a lot of them, that's why they're evil. I mean, the average human being on the planet would never develop Morgellons disease, would never, create wars, would never do a lot of horrible things that they do, child trafficking, all this sort of thing. And you think, how can a human being do that? Well, they're not human. They've either got an attachment and it's taken over the body. I mean, some of these, let's take, for example, an extreme, Ted Bundy. So he's murdered a load of women, 36, I think it was. And I watched the documentary because I wanted to understand what drove him to do that, because that's not human behavior. A normal human being wouldn't do it. And so he's been interviewed at the end on death row. And when the guy said, how would somebody do that, like third party? Oh, well, you go through the whole thing. When he said, how would you do it? His eyes went absolutely black and he got really aggressive, which means that the entity took over him. So, a lot of these people, they're taken over. They're negative, they're evil, and they don't care about the human race. They care about, taking the planet back for themselves. And that's the thing we're battling at the moment. That's what all this climate change is about. If you block out the sun, plant life dies, the oxygen reduces, and the beings under the planet can't breathe this level of oxygen. And that's one of the things they want to do. So it's just it's sad.
All right, let's go over to Tony in the UK. Good morning, Tony. I lately watched an interview with a specialist regarding the nanoparticulates and proteins introduced into the body of late. She recommended augmented NAC developed in Sweden. What's your thoughts?
I don't think anything gets rid of it. I mean, I've been working with Morgellons for 14 years. We've tried all these things. I mean, they said pine needle tea. I mean, that might help spike protein, but it's got all these nanoparticles, spike protein, HIV microinserts. It's got glycoethylene. It's got so many things in it, but the particles themselves will not be affected by that NAC developed in Sweden at all. But it would help with some of the spike proteins, I think. So yeah, I've seen a lot of this stuff, and it just doesn't work. And in fact, the doctors now are saying there's nothing going to touch this nanotechnology, which there isn't. And people treat it sometimes like heavy metals, but it's not really, because it's growing through the body. It's becoming part of your tissue, and that's one of the problems. So, yeah, I hope that helped.
Peter would like to know, would you deny that the truth is aliens are demonic in their crafted, unnatural nature?
No, not all of them. I think, there's good and bad guys. There's malevolent and there's benevolent. I think, it just depends if a lot of the malevolent ones are fallen angels, like the Nephilim came from the Anunnaki seeding, women down here. Was that good? No. In my opinion, it interfered with the human race. So I think, you know, I think there's demonic and there's malevolent and benevolent, and the benevolent ones are helping us. The demonic ones want to take over the planet. It's a battle. You know, at the moment, it's a big spiritual battle, in my belief.
The other thing too, I think, you know, and this isn't a crack at Peter or anything, and thank you for listening tonight, Peter. But I think, you know, the way many people have a perception of aliens does come from a religious text and preachers of the gospel. I mean, because anything that comes from the sky is supposed to be evil. It's supposed to be demonic. It's fallen angels. You know, we don't know what else, if you're a believer in God, what else God created. If you're atheist or agnostic, you're going to believe in the science of everything, which means that there is a possibility that there is life out there and could be visiting us, which I personally, you know, do believe from kind of a creationist standpoint that, you know, if God was a creator of all, then he's not going to create everything to be bad just because it comes from space. You know, and I'm not explaining this very well, and I apologize, and I should do better as a host. But if everything is God's creation, then aliens would be God's creation as well. Therefore, you could have some bad, but I think the majority are going to be good. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree, actually. And I think, you know, you get fallen angels with everything. You know, there's fallen angels down here, but there's the majority are good guys. I just think the problem is the fallen angels always want to manipulate, get in control. But the good guys kind of don't believe it. They don't see things happening. It's like the private West Central Bank, you know, it was put in what? The third one was put in the 1970s. And it's satanic, you know, it's a debt note, you know. You go to your store, you've got a promise to pay note, and you put it in the store, and they promise to pay their supply. Everyone's promised to pay, but no one's paying anything. And it's devalued the currency by 97%. So you need lots of bits of paper to be able to buy anything. So I think, you know, things like that is manipulative. Who was it developed by? You know, the big bankers, you know, Rothschilds, Rockefellers, all these people. And I think, you know, they're negative against the human race. You know, they've done things like crimes against humanity for so long. It's unbelievable. So they're good guys, but, you know, again, they might have attachments. They might be hybrids. Who knows? But I certainly think there's... but they're all God's creatures, you know, manipulative or not. Everyone's a creature of prime creator, you know, for sure. And religious stuff has been put in. It's like Enoch. I mean, Enoch talked about the fallen angels and everything else. And, you know, the good angels sent down to wipe them out. Well, you know, I don't believe in stuff like that because there's free will down here. So fallen angels come down here and human race believe them and they start moving along with them. Then that you need help because you can't just from the ethers come down here and do anything because you're breaking the universal rules and they're absolutely fixed. So it means you've got star seeds to come down here, you know, so they can call on help from the ethers. So yeah.
What are those universal rules?
The keys of Enoch. So you got things like if you're going to do anything major, you have to really show it in some form or other. For example, The Simpsons, 9/11. 9/11 happens so many years later. What else? It talks, you know, I think there's about 78 different keys. But, you know, it talks about interdimensional things. It talks about angels. It talks about watchers. It talks about many different things, you know. So, but one of the biggest rules is free will down here. You know, even Prime Creator who created it decided, oh, we're going to have free will, so cannot interfere. You know, it's up to us as being, you know, as humans being put down here, even if you're a starseed or not, it doesn't matter. But it's up to us to actually pull from the ethers help down here. Otherwise, you know, you wouldn't get help. That's why there's so many starseeds at this time, and it has been for the last 4,000 years. And I think the reason for that is the starseed people have been coming down because, you know, this this world has changed so drastically over the last 4,000 years that they needed to train themselves for the now, and now is it, so.
All right, let's go to Phil in the UK. Christopher, did you ever visit Dodderell Bank in Cheshire, the UK's largest radio telescope?
Oh yeah, I did actually. It was quite close because I lived in Upton by Chester, and yeah, Dodderell Bank was not that far away. We went a couple of times. It was amazing. Absolutely. I don't know where you're from UK, Phil, but bless his heart.
Yeah, we get actually quite a few UK listeners who get up early in the morning to listen to us. It's always nice.
Absolutely.
It really is. The overall picture of the Global Enlightenment Project is what?
The overall picture of the Global Enlightenment Project is to enlighten and, basically, like I say, I feel like, well, there's a couple of things. A facilitator to help people release a lot of emotion, because who hasn't got emotion in this world? People are angsty at the moment. We've all got anxiety at some level because this place we live in is nuts. I love it, but it's nuts, so release the emotion, get the vibration up, take their power back so people can step out and do other things. And I think it's really important. So, and the second thing is we're doing a pyramid project. So we're let me just check. Yeah, okay. We're building off-planet pyramids. The Arcturians are building them, and we're going to site them down here. One's 999.999 feet tall, one's 666.66 feet tall, and one's 333.33 feet tall. And they're going to go on the Golden Curve. The biggest one will be on the ley line juncture. I can't really tell you where in America, but somewhere in America. And what it's going to do, it's going to really power up the ley lines and blow out the negative symbology, which has been blocking ley lines for many hundreds of years. So yeah, that's the biggest project, and it's my I'm kind of the leader of it to actually go get like 100,000 acres, and and if you have people coming to visit them, you're going to need infrastructure, like you're going to need restaurants, somewhere you need a farm, you need workers, you need a lot of things. So it's going to be quite interesting. So yeah, the pyramid project.
What is your what do you call it? Your divine ceremony?
Yeah, the divine ceremony is interesting. And look, if everyone wants to join, it's free to join. It's actually on the 10th of May at 2 p.m. Central Time. What it is we actually chant together. And what we're doing is calling out big tech, big agriculture, big pharma, satanic people like the Rothschilds, the satanic bankers, all these people. And what we're doing is bringing them before God for justice in only the way that God knows how, and release them to God with unconditional love and forgiveness. That's the simple thing of it, but it's quite involved because we do like 4 groups at a time. We have to go through, dear God, Goddess, Prime Creator, and then what we do is we reinstate it every day for 120 days. What that does is it actually it helps break down the satanic, rituals that they do. And so, yeah, it covers child trafficking, USAID, all these different agencies, CIA, we go through the whole lot. And it's very powerful. So please join if you want to. It's free to join. The more the merrier, because the more people who are doing it, together. Normally we did have one day 4,000 people on it. That was with YouTube, whatever. We just do it on Zoom now. So if you register for it, it's on Zoom, and we'll email you the ceremony before, so you can run through it. It's about 3 or 4 pages long. It takes about an hour and a half, but once it's done, it's invoked for 120 days. So it's a God ritual, really, to break down the satanic stuff. So yeah.
What's humanity in for in the next, say, 5 years? Because many UFO specialists or people allegedly in the know tend to believe that there is something coming with a true ET contact. between 2027 and 2020 or 2035. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think there's going to be a disclosure for sure. And, I mean, I've talked to the Kizdet beings and the, Palladians, the Actorians. And I think over the next 2 or 3 years, I mean, you're seeing a lot more sightings of UFOs than there's ever been. Of course, we have built, at Area 51 and all these places, they have anti-gravitational crafts. They've built it. They've reverse engineered it. And I think there's going to be a lot more interaction, I think, with the good ETs in the next 2 to 5 years. And I think it's starting now, to be honest. I think they've just got to get people used to it. But it's very important as well that, of course, there are negative ETs that want to take people off. So, again, it goes back to intuition. If you see a craft, you've got to use your intuition. Is this full of good ETs or is it not? And whatever the first gut feeling is what you should really follow. I think it's very important.
Do we see a point where the good ETs are going to overpower the bad ETs to keep the planet, safe and sound? Kind of like what we hear about the Galactic Federation and their job.
Oh yeah, and again, I think basically, I think we've won already. I just think it's playing out. I think a lot of these characters and different things have actually been taken out. I just think that we're just seeing a movie that we're moving through just to get to the end result. But, one of the end results is that people probably won't like is that there's a lot of non-player characters here. So what does that mean? Well, if we can run through this real quick. So if you look at the population for the last 500 years, 1500s, there's 438 million. That's million. 1600s, it's gone up to 500 billion. So another 40, 50 million. 1700s, 610. About, that's gone up by 100 billion. So we're talking in the millions, not the billions. 1800, it's gone up from 610 million to 1 billion. 1900s, 1.6 billion. 2000, 6.144 billion. 2024, 8.7 billion. It does not make sense. How have we got so many people? And the answer is because they've been developing people in plastic pods, which means that they've got a draconian AI soul, which means they're shut down. So we've got probably about 75% of the population we have on this planet are non-player characters. They're not really human. So things might change this year. They predict that America is going to be, once these characters have gone, then, everyone's population is going to reduce a lot. So that'll be interesting. And they're supposed to expire at the end of this year. So we'll see,
What is your thoughts on the Galactic Federation then?
The Galactic Federation, they only can intervene if it's a dire violation, if it's education, and they need permission to be able to come down and do it as well. So that's why I'm connected to the Galactic Federation, because, like I say, the Greys were swept off the planet. When it was desired to sweep off the planet, they were swept off by the Actorians in 2017. So they went, but now they're coming through portals. Someone just mentioned the Deagle project. Yeah, actually, Kevin, the Deagle project. Can I just shout this out? The Deagle project. I've got it here.
Sure.
So Deagle forecast by country. So yeah, if you look at United States, there was 316.440 million people. That was in 2017. 2025, they predict 99.553 million. In the UK, 63 million in 2017, 14 million in 2025. So I'm just looking for Canada. Yeah. So Canada, 35 million.
On that note, we'll shut it down right there. But thank you, Christopher, for coming on Space Down
bless
Radio.
you.
You.
Thanks for having me.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Christopher, thank you for coming on the show tonight. I greatly appreciate you.
Oh, thanks, Dave. I hope you enjoyed it, bless your heart.
You have a great weekend, okay?
Oh, thanks, bless you. God bless.
You take care.
Thanks for having me.
Good night. What a great guy. Absolute great guy. I'll be right back, everybody. All right, we got about 45 seconds. Big Bad Josh, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Packed my 3 bags with all of my gear for this weekend. So, yeah.
Nice.
Got to pack my clothes now, the non-essential stuff.
Right on. We got about a 3-minute Swamp Dweller. Big thank you to T-Bone, K-Van, Richard, Mike, and Pam for the super chats. Greatly appreciate the love. 01, how are you? Good to see you. All right. We're going to get going in 5 seconds. I'm just going to put you in the green room, Josh. We call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do you got for us tonight, Clam? Well, let's take a look. Zarzuela. Zarzuela is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. In 2010, when I was in much better shape than I am now, I hiked the Pinnacle Trail at Table Rock State Park in South Carolina. I was the only one on the mountain in early April, and early in the day. The trail reaches to the top. It took me about 2 hours to get to the top. It was beautiful, and I rested up there for a bit. I had a snack and some water, and then, after some time, I decided to head back down. I was about 30 minutes from the entrance when I noticed I didn't hear a single sound. Nothing at all. I stopped dead in my tracks. There was no wind, no bugs, birds, running water, absolutely nothing. It was like I was in the vacuum of absolute sound being taken away. For context, there is running water and streams all around the trail, and they're usually easily heard and very loud. I tapped my ear with my finger to see if I could still hear, and I could. I looked around, blinking and thinking, what the heck? I guess it's like what a bug feels like when you trap it in a glass jar. Then, out of nowhere, like a baseball hitting you in the face, the many hunting dogs and pets when I was younger, it was like a doghouse bed that hadn't been cleaned in quite a while, except it was 10 times more pungent. I almost became sick. There was something there. There was no doubt in my mind, but it stayed hidden. I looked around everywhere. Nothing but the odor was all around me. I carry a pistol in most places I go. I have a concealed carry permit. I didn't even think of drawing it, though. I didn't think it would do any good. I finally booked it out of there. Screw this noise. I felt like I had to get out of there. About 30 yards up, I see a doe eating grass. She looks at me and doesn't seem to be scared, which is very odd. Most deer haul ass when they see you. I continued down the trail like a bat out of hell. The sound came back at some point further down the trail. I caught a young couple entering the park when I reached the entrance. I must have looked like I had seen a ghost or something, maybe even a little bit like a crackhead. They looked at me like I had 3 heads, with one coming out of my ass. I left and went home. I had forgotten all about this until one day I was listening to scary stories, I had discovered on YouTube about a year after while painting my house. I stopped immediately when I heard a very similar instance being told. It was like that vacuum or silence someone had experienced while in the woods. I found out later some people call this the Oz effect or the silence.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another creepy story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, hit subscribe, ring that bell on his channel, Swamp Dweller, and you get thousands of stories right there for free. Time for the UFO report.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
All right, filling in for Tim James, who's on the DL due to sleep apnea. Josh Rutledge steps on in from the podcast Mystic Journeys. Good to have you here again, Josh, and very excited that I will see you in less than 24 hours in Las Vegas. Looking forward to it, buddy.
Yeah, same, man. Been excited about it all day. Really looking forward to it. I think, I was talking to one of my daughters about, all the different things that I'm looking forward to. And one of the things I didn't expect is just all the different landscapes that I'll see from the drive from Phoenix to Vegas. So, yeah.
Man, what time are you guys leaving?
11 a.m. Phoenix time, which I don't know if Vegas is on the same time zone or not.
Right now they are.
Okay. So we should get in around 4-ish.
Very nice. You'll be arriving right when we do. We land at about 3:47. So by the time we get out of the airport, it'll probably be about I don't know.
Get a rental car and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
All right, by the time the good part about it is I'm not carrying luggage. I'm not checking in any luggage. I'm just bringing a carry-on, and from there, just right to the Uber, and then right to the hotel.
Very cool. So yeah, looking forward to it. Don't know I'll get into much stuff the first night, but
yes, you will.
Yes,
you will. I can pretty much guarantee that.
Okay. All right.
Wow, man. I can't wait. I cannot wait for our trip out to Rachel, Nevada.
Yep.
Where we're going to see how close we could get to not the black box, but the black box, the white box, and hopefully a gate. I just want that picture, man. I want that
the picture. Yep. With the gate in the background, the sign, do not cross this line.
Yeah.
You will be summarily shot. Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what I want. Exactly what I want. And then quickly run away from the camo dudes.
It's funny, man. I think the universe is really excited about me taking this trip because Amazon accidentally delivered somebody else's package to my house. And I called Amazon about it, and they said, "Oh, just keep whatever's in it because we've already squared it away with the other customer." I opened it up. It's 2 very nice tripods.
No way.
Yep.
You just got lucky, man.
Yeah. So they're coming on the trip for sure.
I bet. Weird UFO news. I mean, going back to the alleged hearings that were supposed to take place inside the skiff, and David Grush no-shows.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how true it is, but rumor has it that he forgot to book his flight to Washington, D.C.
Maybe he's busy. The thing that, and I've, been on your show a little bit over the last, 12 months or so. And my message on my opinion on what this has remained the same and constant. And that is that none of this information is meant for us. It's all meant for Congress and the government to try to get them in control of these special access programs. And I don't know if you've had a chance to watch it yet, but the most recent episode of Weaponized, like they talk about this new whistleblower who basically says there's a new special access program that was stood up after ATIP was made public. And they have no goal to release anything to us, that it's all just smoke and mirrors to keep us, entertained, silenced, whatever the case may be. So, that's been my kind of gut feeling since the get-go, is that, in my opinion, that's why people like Grush and others are going outside of the government official approved methods, because they see a need to get the information to us greater than the government sees a need to get the information to us.
More and more people in the UFO world are really starting to open up to the fact, Josh, that disclosure is a facade. That it isn't happening, that there are games being played on the government side where they are going to be keeping this an absolute secret. I mean, just your thoughts on that, my friend, because there's a lot of people who are starting to realize that for the last 8 years, they've had the blanket pulled over their eyes.
I mean, I think that for me, disclosure already happened. It happened in 2018 when the Pentagon came back and said, those videos that you saw in 2017, that they're ours. That's the extent of disclosure we're ever going to get from the government, in my opinion. We've got government people, Grush and Fravor and others that are willing to go on the record and say, yeah, we're not alone. But I don't know. We've talked about this before, like what the spectrum, let's say, for what disclosure is to whoever you're talking to is so wide that because of that, we'll probably never agree. The community will never agree that disclosure has happened or will happen, because to one person, disclosure is a president, stepping into the Oval Office and giving a State of the Union that includes, oh, and by the way, we've been in contact with NHI, and then, the camera pans to the left, there's a guy standing there, instead of Elon Musk, or maybe Elon Musk is the alien. I don't know. But so that's disclosure on one end, but then the other end is that, for me, the video that came out in 2017 and the Pentagon acknowledging it and saying, yep, this is ours. So because disclosure has such a wide spectrum of what is accepted, it's going to be really hard to be able to definitively say, have we had disclosure?
Yeah, and this is why for the last few years, and I know you've tuned in, I've even said this to you when I've interviewed you, I mean, we have to get the word disclosure out of our vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
We have to. This is about confirmation that something weird is happening. What that weird is, they're not going to tell us, as you said. And go ahead.
I was just going to say, the thing that I really just don't quite understand either is why we've known that the government is interested in the topic for at least 80 years. And, we know now that when they said we're closing Project Blue Book, that they still spun up other programs to continue to investigate the topic. So the government sees value in investigating the topic. Why do we continue to then look to the government to be the kind of, final voice on, yes, this is an anomalous phenomena. Yes, it's happening in our skies, in our seas, on our lands, whatever. And yes, we've been investigating. Like, why are we constantly seeking that from the government? That's the question that I just don't understand. When the vast majority of the community has had their own experiences that are completely unexplainable. I mean, are we waiting for the government to come along and rubber stamp them as UAP? I mean, I just don't understand the nature of waiting for the governments of the world to say, yep, they're here.
Well, I think it's It's because as humans, we need that confirmation. We need to be able to have that wording from the president of the United States that says this is what's happening. This is what it's all about. We may not like it, but we're not alone in the universe. And I think that's the romantic side of how this is supposed to come out. And we just aren't going to see that. There's too much money involved.
Oh yeah.
And the problem is we don't know as a public what is truly ours and what is truly theirs.
Mhm.
I mean, going back 30 years when Ben Rich stated that he doesn't know, or that we already have the technology to get ET home again,
Right.
and that we are about 50 years ahead of what the public sees. I've been told by insiders that that's more to 80 to 100 years ahead right now.
So, it really makes me wonder, let's assume for a moment that that's true. It makes me wonder why our militaries have not deployed those technologies in the war zone, to our knowledge. Unless they're just using them for surveillance. Because if we are, that far ahead, if we've got, black triangle reproduction vehicles that can blip in and out of space time, I just can't imagine the U.S. Marines not saying, let's get our hands on that and jump into a militarized zone, do some damage, and jump out again. So.
Well, I hope not. But I mean, getting back to David Grush for a minute,
Yeah.
skipping the hearings and really putting a wrench in the plan. I just don't see how he gets away with that, especially after the way Tim Burleson, went out of his way to bring this guy in, to bring credibility into the fold here, that he was going to be bringing in whistleblowers, that he was going to be, doing all of this stuff, investigating stories, digging up data throughout the government agencies. And then whatever the case may be, let's hope he wasn't sick. Let's hope he didn't get in a car accident or anything like that, But if it was the case, like the rumor going around that he may have forgot to book his flight or whatever, that just really seems a little problematic for credibility for me.
Yeah, I mean, I could also, yes. I mean, I think on a professional level, right, especially when you're talking about meeting in a skiff with members of Congress, you've already, presumably had the public, at least one public hearing. And now, you said, Grush said, I can't talk about certain things, outside of a skiff. Great. They set up a skiff and then you're not there. The other thing that kind of pops into my head is that maybe he legitimately doesn't see that meeting with them in a skiff will lead to any actions. It's a non-starter. There's no point in going to meet with them in the skiff because nothing is going to come of it, because these clandestine or secret government people don't want the information to come up, and they're going to continue to block it. So there's really no point.
But let me follow that up for a quick second here. Okay. Because does that not then kind of hurt the credibility of the entire people who are allegedly in this field? I mean, Nancy Mason, Anna Polina Luna, and Lauren Boebert all complained about the last hearing that it wasn't about crowdfunding for NASA. It wasn't about buy my book for Lou. And I still can't believe Lou Elizondo dropped it. You're going to have to read my book for that.
Yeah.
In a hearing. I am blown away by that. And that's just me being critical. Okay. And going into this, I mean, you could tell afterwards they were frustrated. They wanted answers. They got nothing. They got the same cookie crumbs that you or I could have had in the same type of interview. Mike Gold, we don't even know why he was there representing NASA, because he was only there begging for money.
Yeah, he added zero anything to the conversation.
That's right. So now if Grush did pull a fast one here, and once again, we can't confirm that just yet, but if he did pull a fast one here, that's just another, blip from people who are trying to take this seriously. It's another black mark. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I hear what you're saying. I guess it's really hard to, I guess, speculate on his motivations for missing the hearing. I mean, like you said, we hope that it was as simple as he forgot to book his flights, but we really don't know. I mean, we know that because he mentioned that they were coming off after him and members of his family and threatening them and everything. I mean, for all we know, there was a threat on his life. Don't take that flight. And he's just not allowed to make it public or doesn't want to make it public. So, I don't know. I guess hopefully, because he is so kind of center stage, at least in the last few months on the topic, that he will somehow come out with a reason as to why it happened, and then we'll get the truth, and we'll get his answer. I mean, whether or not you believe him is a different question, or a different story. But we'll at least get his answer on why he missed them, and hopefully it's a valid reason and not just I overslept.
But don't you think it's weird if you dig into David Grush a little bit? So we got 2 minutes to go here. Don't you think it's weird that when he was appointed to that position, that he didn't even come out and speak about it publicly? Tim Burleson had to make a statement for him that either reeks of shyness or reeks of arrogance.
Or just general concern around the exposure to his family. I mean, he does have 2 daughters, I believe, in high school or college. Maybe it's when I go public, they go public situation, and they didn't ask for this.
Grush doesn't have children.
Okay. Well, who is
He's got dogs.
Dogs. Okay. Well, I don't think I thought maybe it was one of the other guys that recently came public, but one of them I think had, maybe it's Lou, has kids. I don't know. But anyway, so somebody had kids that was concerned about the threats that they were receiving. So
yeah, it was definitely Lou. Definitely Lou Elizondo on that part.
So, I mean, I don't think he's worried about his dog's exposure then. But
no.
But yeah, so I don't know. It could be, like you say, arrogance, or it could be shyness. Although he doesn't, his body language and speaking demeanor at the UFO congressional hearing didn't indicate to me that this is a shy person. He seemed to carry himself in that very public appearance in a non-shy way.
That's a good way of putting it. When we come back from the break here on the UFO Report with Josh Rutledge tonight, filling in for Tim James, I want to get back into whistleblowers. Okay, I want to ask your opinion on a comment that John Ramirez and Walter Bogg.
This is Spaced Out Radio. Your host, Dave Scott.
Good job, buddy.
Thanks, man.
No problem.
I'm always down to talk about this stuff. I got all kinds of opinions.
We'll run with it. We will run with it.
And I do have some reports when we get to that part. So I got like 4 lined up for tonight.
All right, buddy. We'll do it.
You feeling better tonight?
A little bit. PRM, how you doing? Yeah, I know about the music. It's a Spreaker thing that is, or not a Spreaker, a StreamYard thing that we're trying to figure out on this end. I'm not worrying about it until we get back from Vegas, but thank you. So who's driving tomorrow, you or Shane?
Oh, I'm driving. I love to drive. It's my
Me too.
That was my favorite thing about moving out here is the 2.5 days drive across the country.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we go to Disneyland. It's like 6.5 hours from us, and
Yeah,
drive that. You know, it's
That's
my
totally
opinion is that, like, if I can drive there in 13 hours, just drive. Now, my wife and kids, they tend to disagree, but I mean, you know, it's usually a lot cheaper.
Yep. That's one thing when I go on vacation, unless I'm going to a direct spot, I much prefer driving.
Mhm.
I like being on my own schedule rather than somebody else's schedule. I mean, it changes now that there's Uber and Lyft, because then you can kind of still be on your own schedule and still
Yeah,
get a ride back, when you want.
right.
But it's one thing I hate. Like, like for me, if I were to travel down to Disneyland and get one of them packages, then you're on the shuttle time. And if
Yeah.
you miss the shuttle, you're screwed. I don't like that.
Yeah, it's like my uncle has done a lot of vacation packages around the world, and that's the thing. He went to like Machu Picchu and stuff, but they were there for one day, and so if he wanted to go back and hit it a second day, he can't because they're on to the next thing that they're doing. So I'm the same way. I'd rather, maybe one day I wake up and I was supposed to go to Machu Picchu, but instead I just want to roam around some markets and buy something, and then the next day I'll go to my, like, I want to be able to have that flexibility, is I guess what I'm saying, which is like the same thing you're saying.
I just like being on my own schedule. Hell with everybody else.
Yeah, no itinerary for Dave.
No, I just like to go with the flow. I do. I love Disneyland though.
I like going for my kids. Like it's a lot of people. To bring the woo into the conversation, it's a lot of energies, like a bunch of different energies flowing around, and sometimes they're very intense, and so it drains me a day at the park, just shielding against all of the different energies that are floating around. So not as bad as Disney World though. I don't know why, because it's a
Haven't
tighter
been there.
space. Disney World is more spread out, but I don't know, there's something about it.
We got about 35 seconds. Thank you to Kanan, or Kvan, pardon me, Mike, Pam, Richard, and T-Bone for the great super chats. Greatly appreciate the love and support. So thank you very, very much. Don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. We're coming back in a few seconds. This beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed most of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Filling in for Tim James on the UFO Report, we got Josh Rutledge here. And Josh, thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Absolutely great to be here, Dave.
Last night on the show, I had Kelly Chase, and I asked her this question. I'm going to ask you the same questions as well. When I had Walter Bosley and John Ramirez on the show last week, they said none of the people who have come out are whistleblowers, because a whistleblower brings out information. A whistleblower is giving pertinent information to the media that is going to blow the socks off a topic. And we have not seen that outside of anecdotal stories from any whistleblower coming out on the UFO subject. Whether it's Elizondo, whether it's Grush, whether it's Jason Sands, whether it's Jake Barber, yeah, there was the video, but he didn't film it. He just brought it out. Okay. And basically it's just anecdotal stories, just like you or I would have as an experiencer. So
Yep.
the question is, should we stop referring to these people coming out as whistleblowers? Are we watering down the word whistleblower?
Well, I mean, I agree with the two viewpoints that a whistleblower does bring pertinent information, but I guess the question that I would have is are the whistleblowers for this is going to sound like a broken record, but are the whistleblowers for the benefit of us or for the benefit of Congress? And we just happen to be, we happen to be in the peanut gallery at the time that they're trying to shed light on these things that are happening. Because they do have pertinent information that can shed light on the topic. They're just not allowed to share it because of non-disclosure agreements and, classification and so on with the general public, but they are allowed to share it, in a skiff or whatever with members of Congress, those people who have the appropriate clearance. I guess, if you're looking for, and then the second point that I would make is, you're right in that every person who has come forward so far, other than maybe Fravor and Ryan Graves, they don't have firsthand knowledge of the phenomena. They are aggregators of information, and they feel that the American public should be entitled to knowing some of that information, and that is what is or that the Congress should have purview over these programs, and that's what's driving their bringing this stuff forward. But they may have, like Lou talked about it in his book, he has some unique experiences of his own, but those experiences are outside of the context in which he is coming forward as a quote unquote whistleblower, as a part of that special access program. So, I mean, I still think they're whistleblowers, even if the information that they're sharing is not jaw-dropping, this changes everything for us, because the information that they're allowed to share with us is limited.
I guess when I look at a whistleblower, I think of Edward Snowden. Love him or hate him, traitor or not, Edward Snowden brought information to the table for the eyes of the public to see what was going on behind the scenes. You could almost say the same thing for Chelsea Manning. Okay.
Yep.
Maybe in a different context, because that information, was a little bit more, how can I put it? A little bit more military and put people's lives at risk immediately. But outside of those two, we really don't have true whistleblowers going public. These guys are more interested in keeping their top secret clearance. They're more interested in trying to land a job with one of these contractors where they're going to get paid a nice 6-figure salary.
Or they're more interested in being able to continue to reside in the United States, because Edward Snowden does not live in the United States, right?
True.
He fled his government because of, retaliation. So I guess that's the other side of it is that these guys are willing to at least make us aware that these programs exist without giving us all the bits and pieces or dumping it all on, an online website for all of us to peruse, because that still brings it to the attention of the general public without breaking the laws that would cause them to need to flee the country.
Very true. And that is a very strong point indeed. But I'm just wondering, do you think we are putting too much effort into trying to blow these people up in a good way, that they are going to be the new voice of reason, of information? They're going to come out, because we see the public becoming more and more frustrated with these people coming out, giving anecdotal stories, the same type of, like, I give anecdotal stories about my experiences. You do too. Many others do, because that's all we have.
Right.
But if they're packing more heat, a whistleblower doesn't care about an NDA. A whistleblower doesn't care about a job position with a contractor. A whistleblower is doing it for the betterment of the country and the betterment of potentially humanity. That's the reason why they're going public. We're not seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to fall back on the want to stay in the country. As to the severity, or rather, let's say the depth in which they're willing to be a public whistleblower. The protections that were put in place by Congress for whistleblowers are for them to bring the awarenesses to Congress, not for them to bring the awarenesses to the New York Times. So again, I think within the confines of the laws that are in place, they are, as per those protections, being whistleblowers. Now, of course, like we just talked about a few minutes ago, they have to show up more than just the public hearings, right? They have to show up and give their stuff in the skiff. They have to, be able to provide that additional information so that Congress can work with whomever to, maybe reach some sort of a declassification of certain content elements in order for it to come public. But I don't know. I feel like if calling Grush a whistleblower means that we are expecting him to do Snowden level data releases, I think that's outside of the expectations of a whistleblower in the context of what these guys are trying to bring to light.
I don't think you have to go as far as Snowden, but I think you definitely have to bring some information to the table rather than I can only do this in a skiff. Because then you're not doing it for the public.
Right. But again, they're not, I don't think they're doing it for the public. I don't think that even the community, we spoke the other night about people in the gray area that are on the fence on whether or not they want to believe. They're not doing it for them. I think they're 100% doing it for congressional oversight of special access programs and we, the peanut gallery, happened to be there to hear some of the conversation. And
I get that.
And
It's
I've
a
said that
selfish point.
from the get-go.
It's a selfish point. Not on your part.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but we want them to, we want Grush or somebody to show up with, I can't show you everything, but here's 5 pictures that came from the archives of, the
Bingo.
Department of Defense's internet, of, stuff that we've been catching or seeing. And it doesn't have to show us, how the information was obtained or any of the people involved, but it would show us at least something that the government has that maybe we've never seen before. And yeah, I think that would be nice. And I don't know if that would be in breach of any type of non-disclosure things. Again, working within the confines of the law. It seems to be, especially with Grush, he first notified the Inspector General. He and Lou both said the only reason they went public is because they were in fear of their lives because of the threats that they were receiving from the, security, agencies of the U.S. So that's the only reason they made public statements, is because threat to their life. So I think had that not happened, this would have continued on behind closed doors for a long time before we would have known about it.
It probably would have. But
and
we
it
still
probably
have
did for a long time before we heard about it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely it did. Absolutely it did. But it doesn't give them the right to hold back and play a role that you're not. But then again, we see it all the time in ufology, whether it's whistleblowers, whether it's journalists, whether it's scientists.
Mm-hmm.
We see it all the time. People just making up titles to make themselves look more impressive.
What's the halfway crook? You can't be a halfway crook. You're either a crook or you're not. I think that's what we're seeing, is that as the UFO topic gains public interest, even beyond the community that's been established for a long time, these fringe journalists and things, or even mainstream journalists and things, want to ride the wave of interest that this topic generates. But then as soon as that wave kind of dies down a little bit, they're not really interested in being a part of the conversation anymore until the next big wave comes, and then they want to ride it a little bit longer. I think that people in the community realize or see them for who they are. They're not invested in the truth. They're only invested in how this topic can help sell their newspapers or sell their magazines or get people to tune into their news stations.
Very true. Very true. You got some stories for us.
I do have some stories for you. We're going to start with one in Antwerp, Belgium. Going across the seas. This happened March 8th of this year at 9:33 local time. And it was this. At approximately 9:33, a cylindrical, unidentified flying object was observed hovering over Antwerp. The object appeared metallic, reflecting ambient city lights, and had a smooth, seamless surface with no visible wings, propellers, or traditional aircraft features. It was estimated to be about 10 to 15 meters in length and remained stationary for roughly 30 seconds before accelerating eastward at an extraordinary speed and disappearing within seconds. The object emitted no noise, showed no visible means of propulsion, and some witnesses reported a faint glow or haze surrounding it. Weather conditions at the time was a clear sky, minimal cloud cover, visibility was excellent, temperature was about 46 degrees Fahrenheit, 8 degrees Celsius. No known aircraft or drones were reported in the area at the time, and according to the witness, their phone and their EV stopped working at the time of the sighting.
That's amazing.
That's something we don't hear much about anymore. When you think about the UFO stories and sightings of like the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, 70s even, we hear about, cars just stopping. You would think with EVs, it would be even easier to stop it from working, but we just don't hear that associated with UFO reports anymore like we used to.
We don't hear much about the interesting stories anymore.
Yeah.
The phone booth calls at your back, like Travis Walton, or the cars shaking, or the cars turning off and on, or the power going out and back. I mean, that seemed to end in the 70s, man. We missed a good decade in ufology.
Yeah. When I was doing my old podcast with my friend Stefan, getting to interview a lot of those older ufologists and cover a lot of those older stories was just amazing because of, you're right, just all the kind of really cool aspects of those stories. I wonder if there's any relationship that could be made between, as our advances in like movies and TV and things like that, where it used to be that movies and TV would leave it up to the imagination of the viewer as to how something may be happening, but now movies and TV, they go as far as to explain in depth the science behind how something in the movie is happening. So it doesn't leave a lot to the viewer for imagination. Has our imagination as a species begin to drop off, so that we're not thinking about or describing our experiences in such a way that doesn't assume that the person who's reading about it or hearing it doesn't already know how all that stuff might work.
We got about 3.5 minutes. Time for one more story, my friend.
Okay. So next up comes from Windham, New Hampshire. This was a craft with a triangle shape with 6 lights in total seen on exit 3 of 93 North. 2 lights on each triangle point had a metallic bluish hue underneath of it. Height in the air was low, maybe 1,000 feet, but that is a guess. We saw for a good 7 or 8 seconds and then had to turn on 111 East and lost it. We pulled into a parking ride off of 111 and still could not locate it. My kids were freaked out and I cried, said it was the scariest thing they had ever seen in their life.
Man.
That was in February of this year.
You know what? I will say this. I think we do not report enough on the emotional impact this has on experiencers.
Yeah, I mean, I think that because when you think about the idea of the fighter, fight, flight, or freeze, that is kind of ingrained in us. When you take a situation of just total disbelief, hard for your brain to even process what you're experiencing. Obviously, that fight, flight, or freeze probably kicks in, and then you either accelerate away or you get off the road as quickly as possible. We talked about it, or at least maybe I was talking to somebody else about the idea that the front part of your brain can actually override that fight or freeze mentality. And that happens in a lot of cases with sightings where people will walk closer, to whatever it is that they're seeing, or they just stand there and stare at it. It makes you wonder if, the brain is an awesome, part of the body in that it will protect itself from situations that it feel can harm itself either mentally or physically. That's why if you have trauma, a lot of times your brain blocks those memories out and you have to go through therapy to recover them. So why does the brain not block out these experiences as traumatic events? Why does it let you remember in great detail all aspects of it?
The $1 million question. We got about 1 minute to 2 minutes to go here. Can you sneak in the last one?
Yep. So this comes from Portugal. This is 12/20/24. And it says, I was on a boat fishing when suddenly a dark blue light formed beneath the water. It moved about 100 meters from the boat, emerged like a submarine, and took off, heading towards the sky. You could see some kind of blue engine. And when it reached a certain height, I couldn't see it anymore. It looked like a pyramid. Again, that was in Portugal. That's something else we don't get a lot of reports of, is the USOs.
Very true. Very true. You got to watch out for them aliens, man. You got to watch out for them because they're everywhere.
They are.
Do me a favor, man. We got 30 seconds here. Tell everybody where they can find your podcast.
Yep. If you go to youtube.com/@MysticJourneys44, or you can just look up on YouTube, Mystic Journeys. And then I'm also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. as Beyond Transcendence is the name of the newest podcast. So that's how you can find my stuff. And I'd appreciate it if you like, subscribe my channel. And I'm always releasing new content. The last couple things that I've done have involved dowsing rods. So it's kind of like me channeling information, and I'm using dowsing rods to,
I know you're out there somewhere. This is the time of different state. 1,000 so much for you to break. Stay now, don't make a mistake. We're watching.
All right, buddy, we're clear.
All right, man.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah. Enjoy your flight. Look out the window for UFOs. So I
always do. Always do. I always book the left side of the airplane going down to Vegas, because that's where when we start hitting the desert, that's when I start looking for the old Tikaboo Peak and, everything around the mountains there.
Yep. So just so you know, that we've been having a little flap here in Arizona and been seeing stuff to the northwest. So be kind of looking towards the northwest when you get down here.
I am in the northwest, man. I'll take that trail right down. All right, buddy.
All right,
we'll
man.
see you tomorrow. We'll get some dinner tomorrow night. Okay.
Sounds great. Talk to you later.
All right. And for the rest of you, we are going to be blacked out of live shows until Tuesday next week due to our SOR get-together in Las Vegas. If you change your mind and it's short notice, you want to go, meet us down there. We're going to have a lot of fun. So I hope you get that opportunity. Thank you tonight to T-Bone, Richard, Mike, Pam, and K-Van. We appreciate it. Much love to you. We'll see you all next week. Have fun, everybody. And don't forget, next week we'll be back. So we're not leaving for good. Just a couple of days. Good night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.